Finola listened to them talking, casting anxious glances behind her as she felt the ever-increasing waves slap against the back of her legs. She was thinking some of the same things Franklin was. What would have happened had they stayed a little longer with Ollie? What would they have learned? Sarah, James, Thomas and Alice were gone to who knows where, and apparently something bad was happening to them. Why would Sarah have to die to see this finished? Ollie loved Sarah, loved all of them. Why would he make that statement with such calm certainty? She was sure if they had just been able to listen to everything he said, he would have told them that there was something they could do to help, some way to. Her musings were cut short by a strange vague feeling of danger. Something was changing in the air around them. The wind was picking up, causing the already tiny island to become even smaller as the ocean sloshed up on its shore. Grey clouds moved restlessly in a deep blue sky, carrying the warm, fresh odor of promised rain with every gust of air. The large body of water surrounding them was moving constantly, crashing against the fragile shoreline, taking away precious sections of sand and grass with every wave. 4 sets of hands clung tight to the only solid object on the land mass that hadn't moved yet, Finola's palm tree. The deteriorating weather pattern was making her nervous. It felt wrong, like this was just the beginning of something much worse. Putting her efforts into fortifying the tree by talking to its roots, she managed to coax it to grow taller and thicker, anticipating the need for its shelter. The tree responded by expanding its base until it took up most of the land available, pushing the group further out till all that separated them from the water was a 2-foot ring of sandy, mushy grass. The seas were growing rougher by the minute, while clouds rolled relentlessly through the sky, blocking out the sun. The air had a thick layer of moisture as humidity built up along with the constant crash of the waves flowing over the tiny shoreline. Finola's inner senses screamed at her that something was coming and it wasn't a good idea to stay where they were. The hairs stood out on the back of her neck and her stomach had a dull sickly ache. Her discomfort broadcast itself loudly to the others. They were well aware of what she was going to say before it even came out of her mouth. They also knew that she was wondering why they didn't notice the sudden sickly change that was taking place around them. It wasn't just the weather. It was. Her mind tried to convey to them the sudden wrongness of the atmosphere. That was the only word that came to mind, wrongness. It may not technically be a word, but it was definitely the state of this place currently. "I think we need to start climbing right now," she said. "We can't be down here much longer." The water hit her about her waist on its next rising, nearly pulling her out to sea. She clung to the tree with her friends. Eric's hand dug into her wrist as he felt her slight form move away with the retreating wave. He could feel his heartbeat accelerating, thumping anxiously. Fear for her transmitting itself loudly to her, even though he tried to contain it. His other hand grasping nervously at Franklin's on his other side, anxiety evident in his thoughts. The need to protect her was uppermost in his mind. When Franklin would have moved to help Finola, trying to ease the other man's mind, Eric stepped in front of him and reached for her. He just knew that, whatever bond Franklin and she shared, he had the greater need to protect her. Eric loosened his hold on the tree and, reaching for his short companion, pulled her up and placed her on Randall's shoulders. Picking up on Eric's worried state of mind, Randall anticipated his move and was ready to help. He bore her slight weight easily, and since he was the tallest of their group, a little boost from his strong arms lifted her high enough to get a good grip on the knubby bark of the tree. Another strong push sent her climbing to the top. Before he could return to his place, Eric's foot slipped as another wave hit the land. He was forced to lunge for the trunk, scraping his face and hands on the rough, pointy bark in order to regain his grip on their only anchor to land. Franklin grabbed his arm and watched as Finola made her way to the top of the tree, before boosting him up onto Randall's shoulders to brace his feet on the tiered surface and follow her. Climbing quickly upward toward the top, seeking shelter in the fronds there, Finola risked a glance downward when she was halfway up, relieved to see Eric following a short distance behind her. His yellow eyes met hers and she felt reassured by his calming gaze. He was okay now that she was safe. He gestured for her to continue climbing, indicating that Franklin was behind him, followed by Randall. They were temporarily safe from the water up here, but what would happen when the storm intensified? It was going to get much worse before it got better, and this little hunk of land wouldn't hold up under high water and winds. There was so little green surface visible below, most of it was covered in water. The tree looked like it was growing out of the ocean. The tree itself was swaying from side to side, hit by the high winds and the increasing assault of the sea. Finola was afraid that she wouldn't be able to maintain the integrity of its base. It was already too large for the space she asked it to occupy. She could sense the roots weakening under the pressure of the storm. Their one refuge from the elements was causing the island to dip below the surface as wave after wave attacked unceasingly.